Well, thank you so much for being here. I loved your film, The Ugly Stepsister. I am so excited to talk about it today. I first off want to congratulate all of you on the film's Oscar nomination, along with all of its other praises throughout the season. But how does that feel to have an Oscar nomination?
Yep. Yeah, it feels good. I mean, it feels, yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it was so unexpected, so it feels really, really good, and it's so nice to, yeah, see the film going in that direction suddenly, because I think we're all very proud of what we have done. So, yeah, thanks to Emilie for making it in
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
place.
yeah. We wouldn't be here if she didn't make it. So, yeah.
Was all of the team together? I saw the video and some of the Norwegian films were together at that
Oh,
nomination announcement.
that was just me and sentimental value. So we have the same producer as Sentimental Value, Maria Ekerhov. She's amazing, and they were expecting at least some nominations. I
Mhm.
don't think anyone was expecting us to be nominated. We have a very a European crew. Thomas and Cathrine are from Denmark. We have a lot of HODs from Denmark. A lot of our other crew, Polish. We have Swedish cast and all of that. So it's not as Norwegian, as Sentimental Value. So they were like 50 people, and then it was me. But it was funny because never before, it's like Norwegian film history, these nine nominations. But it's also Norwegian film history that never before has a Norwegian Oscar, been like just in brackets after something else.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were really like the stepsister at the sentimental value ball, but that suits
That's
us
how it's supposed to
well.
be.
It's
Yeah.
about how it's supposed to be.
A little metaphor from the film. Yeah, I mean, we can start there on the collaboration process because I love that you all have worked together in some capacity before and with other collaborators on the team. You've mentioned Manon, the costume designer, and how you and her have worked together, Emilia, and then Thomas and Anna Katrina, and Thomas and Manon. So I like how did that work and in getting everybody together? Because again, it feels like that home, that close-knit family that you get to make multiple films together.
So, this is my debut. So actually, it's not the case that I worked with any one of my HODs before, actually. It's all first times. I'm half Danish myself and a big fan of, Lars von Trier was one of my first discoveries as a young film addict. So when we were looking for HODs, we looked to Denmark, and Thomas was one of the first ones that we hooked on because Maria has worked with him before, and I was very, very impressed by his work. And then what you're saying really started snowballing, over in Denmark. We also had Manon on the team, and she had also worked with Anne-Catherine before, and both Thomas and Manon were talking really, really highly about her. And I checked out her work and was thoroughly impressed. And I also knew, especially for Thomas's work, because I'd by then, become one of Thomas's pupils of what his work is and how it works, and I've never worked with anything like that before. So it was very important for me to understand, his work and under what circumstances, he would be able to do his best work because the film is like a live or die on his hill somehow, and he was very, very insistent on, there's someone who's coming in and who's going to put makeup on top of my work, there's someone who's gonna, and it's really important that this person really understands what my work is. And that together with and Catherine's amazing, taste levels and knowledge, I was like, I was fighting for her for a long time until production, gave thumbs up because it's a small budget, so they were trying to give me some students from Poland or something, but I said no.
Well, and Thomas and Anna Catherine, you've been working for decades. So how has it been working together for so long? And again, working with other people from the team.
It's yeah, yes,
There
yes.
you go.
No, you can start. You haven't said anything. Come on.
No, it's okay. Yeah, but I joined quite late, and Thomas and we've worked a lot together. We did some very character comedy work where we worked super fast and super intuitive. So I knew that we could immediately, we didn't have to say so much to each other. And then Emilie was super well prepared and did this amazing mood boards and visuals that was really nice and inspiring and really good to work with. And we met first time in my flat where we did this jam session where we just put a lot of wigs on and stuff. And I really find, Emilie, that we hit it off right away. We are like, yeah, we're going this direction. So of course it's good for the movie that we knew each other, and also with the Manon, which I worked with for also decades with and this film has a very strong will, Emilie, like which direction we're going. So in a way, it was really fairy tale-ish. It was
Yeah.
in a way very movie making. It is always hard and it's always tough and it's always long days and it's always problems. But this one was really nice to make because it ended up, everything we struggled with ended up in a nice way, instead of like sometimes you have to make enormous compromises. And I think this went in a good direction for all of us. Then you don't mind the struggle. Then you don't.
So getting into the story, so many people, I would say most people, are familiar with Cinderella. And there are so many variations on this story throughout time, dating back to ancient Greece. And I think pinpointing this particular tale by the Brothers Grimm is very interesting. So, first off, did anyone have fairy tales that they grew up with, or were you familiar with this version that really drew you to this project? Emilie, you can start.
Yeah, so in Norway we have this obscure Christmas tradition. Every Christmas Eve we see this Czech version from the 70s. It's called Three Wishes for Cinderella, or Three Nuts for Cinderella. And it's like in Germany they see it as well. And we're the only two countries that have a relationship to this very particular Cinderella film. So when I got the idea, it was really, I also grew up with the Brothers Grimm's version. I had a little like children's book about it with the, big cartoonish blood drops from the stepsister shoes and all that. So it was really for me a mashup of those two universes. And I thought, it is such a global and also timeless story, as you say. So I thought I should be very specific about, where I put it and not be scared of but also just putting references from all of them, like the mice from Disney and all of these things, and kind of like hack everyone's relationship to any version of this fairy tale. Yeah, what about you, Thomas and Cathrine?
Yeah, I mean, I remember having the Grimm version read as a very young, as a child, and I also remember finding it extremely gruesome but also very interesting. Yeah, so I'm definitely familiar with that version as well.
Yeah, we grew up with this double. We don't have this Three Nuts for Cinderella in Denmark, so I haven't actually seen it, but we grew up with both the Grimm version and the Disney version, and kind of when I think of it always somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But I always loved this old illustrations in the Grimm fairy tale books, and all the Grimm stories are pretty grim. They are all pretty
Yeah.
sad, and also the H.C. Andersons. They're actually quite sad, a lot of them. So for us, the fairy tales are not just nice, but of course we are very influenced by everything American and the whole Disney universe. So we grew up with both.
I need to check out that film because that would also put some great perspective behind it. But I love that you do kind of take from so many versions the blindness, when she has her eyes covered with the gauze, or her weeping over the dress as like her crying on her mother's grave with the tree.
Yeah.
So beautiful references. And I didn't grow up with the Brothers Grimm story, so I wouldn't have known, but I did read it fairly recently. And if you are familiar with it, you do pick up on those things. So I like that it doesn't give or take away based on your relationship with the material. I think it's also beautiful how you modernize it. You modernize it, yet you keep it in that world. And you totally also at the same time give a new spin on it. So with, Disney generally and these stories, you have caricatures of these people. In this case, you don't have names in the Brothers Grimm for the Ugly Stepsisters, but you really turn these women into well-rounded characters. So can you talk on that adaptation process and really bringing this to life, I would say, because also, you're centering on Elvira in the beginning, and I thought she was Cinderella, and then you start to learn that, wait, the story is playing tricks on you. So how did
Yeah.
that work in your head of bringing that to life?
Oh, thank you for all of those comments. So, I think one of the big realization that made me want to make this movie, was that I strongly identified with the stepsister cutting off her toes to try to fit this shoe. And, I really could recognize her longing to fit within the beauty ideal, the longing to be beautiful enough to be loved, and also by the mother and all of these things, how the expectations for what a woman can be delivered in generations, from within family or friends. But what I also could recognize was also that, living under such pressure and with this low self-esteem and these things, you don't become a very beautiful person necessarily from those experiences. Actually, you can become this wicked stepsister as well. And I could really understand why Elvira would, she wouldn't. I didn't want to flip the story where she just became this like sweet girl, misunderstood, that was nice and pure-hearted the whole time. I actually wanted to tell the story of how she maybe started as this innocent victim, but then, by the mid of the film, she's starting to internalize the objectification, self-objectify, and then also, becoming more and more self-centered and vile, against herself, but also against others. And I think there's deep truth in that and hurt in that I think we have to recognize for this story to be true to anyone, who could relate to that kind of troubles with yourself. And when I then started, this kind of more three-dimensional work on the stepsister, I soon understood that, I had to do it to everyone, or I love my characters and I love that they're complex, but the most difficult one was Cinderella because I can't relate. And I was really unsure, how to write her, Would she be this like stupid blonde, just like waiting for the prince to come and get her? Um, and because she was so kind and perfect, and no one really is, right? But then I had this epiphany actually when I got the idea that she would be sexually active with her boyfriend. Suddenly that really rang so true to me, because she was not just a natural in her looks and in her beauty. She was a natural, in terms of accepting herself, her whole self, without shame, and just being able to live her life, and she has no problems. And I think, in high school, when I was like Elvira, not understanding what sex was, and like when people at parties just disappeared and in a door, I would be like, whoa. I wonder what they're doing in there. I have no idea how to get there myself. But then I had these girlfriends who were, sexually active, changing boyfriends, and had no problem with it. And I think that is still, makes Cinderella still an ideal in a way where I'm not like taking her down, or trying to tread on her or making her evil or bad. She's just like really annoying because she she has what I want, in a good way.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned this was your feature debut. It's a lot to take in as you watch the film because it's so fantastic. And on top of that, it's Lea's film debut too. So the way that she feels that character lived in is, again, it just makes it overwhelming in a good way. But I think talking about her process or her transformation throughout the film, Elvira, how did you all collaborate with that? Was it you knew the beginning point, you knew the end point? Because that transformation is so drastic on screen when you see her crawling down the steps, and her hair and the wigs and everything. Or was it that you wanted to hit certain points along the way of showing her descent? Thomas or Anna Cathrine, you can start.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting to start this project at the beginning. Of course, it was, but Emilie was just so well prepared and had so many visions and ideas. So, I mean, the starting point was kind of clear. So we had something to work from, and then developing how Elvira looked in the beginning was actually kind of the essential thing, that whole younger look, a little goofy teenage look, and a little chubby but still likable, and not doing like a crazy caricature or anything. So, I mean, deciding on that, I think, kind of gave itself to how the process would then be, because then we knew that, okay, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So it was fairly easy to make the other steps in it, if that makes sense. But I mean, getting Elvira right from the beginning of the film, the first half of the film, was kind of difficult to hit that level of yeah, character and
Yeah,
everything.
because
So
we didn't want to be afraid, to make her chubby and give her a bigger nose and all these things. We had a lot of discussions, about what is beauty, what is ugly, why do we have these different labels? What kind of perceptions will the audience have? What will happen to her when we design her in these different ways? And we didn't want to chicken out, but we didn't want to, make her into a caricature either. And we didn't want the audience to be looking at this face and thinking, oh, this is makeup design, We wanted really people to meet her and see her for what she is. And I think actually so we went quite subtle, but not, And I think actually one of the less subtle choices we did is with Anne Catherine and her ringlets, the hair, because it's so stupid, but it's also so classic, And we really wanted to ref the animation movies, also on the costumes, and this ringlets. That's kind of what is mocking her.
Yeah,
Are
but
these
it's
ringlets?
also it's happiness and
Yeah.
innocence and joy and
But it's
yeah,
also, yeah, exactly. But it's
yeah. It's like I'm going
something
for a ball.
outside of,
Woo!
and
Yeah,
but it's something outside on her. It's not
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
her. Yeah. So I think really designing Elvira there in the beginning was, I think, what was the most nerve-wracking, at least for me and Thomas. And then Lea, of course, was insane, just carrying and acting through this makeup through the whole movie and never, letting it
No, she has
injure her. Yeah.
cheeks, nose, double
Yeah,
chin,
it's
and
it's
a
it's
piece
it's it's
here.
it's very massive because she actually acts in quite a big makeup all
Yeah.
through the movie. Even the ball scene where she's beautiful, if you can say so, it's also a big makeup. So she was, I mean, she was so good at wearing this because putting people in a prosthetic makeup. Because in the beginning she has cheeks and she has a nose and she has a double chin and she has a neck piece and arms in some scenes, and it's just a big thing. And she just kind of like acted through everything as though she has tried it 100 times before. So that definitely made it quite easy as well because we could do a lot of stuff and she wouldn't be strained by it or anything. That was fantastic as well.
Yeah, she still came totally through.
Yeah.
You could still, you didn't just see a lot of silicone. You really saw the character through all of it. Yeah.
Oh,
And that
totally.
also ties it together, her
Hmm.
acting. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, you see her body transformation. It looks real from start to finish. The ringlets that you're talking about, are those the curls?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Yeah. Oh
little,
my God. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Oh Mary by Cola Scola. They made a Broadway show and they're all about it's about Mary Todd Lincoln, the backstory of her character, and she wears the character is based around these bratty curls, this
oh, I
hairdo
don't know.
that she
Yeah, no.
has. They call them the bratty curls. So that was very
Okay.
much how they played in the film because you see her prancing along and it's so funny.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's a good reference.
yeah.
um
Which we missed before. And then we
yes.
probably would have said, no, we don't want to do the same. But it worked really well. Yeah.
I think we have to talk about the gross parts of this and how you
Mhm.
made that makeup work too. I've seen things online about the eyes and how you play with the effects there, and then noticing on rewatch having the POV shot from within the eye and using the needle. So, what were your favorite parts of maybe just getting down and dirty and really going for it, not being afraid, like Amelia says?
Um,
Thomas, go
I
for it.
think that it was it again it was super interesting because there was so much in the whole project. There was the whole Elvira character, which is definitely one kind of maneuver into the makeup effects world, and then there was the dad that's rotting away, another thing, dummies, and then there was these gore effects and the worm, and and it was just so interesting because they were so complicated. I mean, reading about them first was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? And then having meetings with Emilia that had some certain ideas about it also made me wonder how are we going to do that. And then getting storyboards and everything and seeing, okay, we're actually going to see this really up close and in certain ways. So there was a lot of talk about it actually, and the hardest part about it was that Emilia from the beginning had an idea that she kept saying that it can look fake, but it has to look good. And it was really difficult for me to grasp at first, because what does that actually mean? Because I'm used to doing stuff that's real in a non-movie like way, like more like realistically gross and a little weird like that. And then she wanted this. I want a cut to be like it could be marzipan toast. So I said, oh my God, this is going to be strange. And she wanted the color of the red to be bright red and opaque, like in the 70s giallo movies, and all of that stuff. So it took a lot of thinking, and then we got the storyboards, and then we got a VFX supervisor as well. So we kind of very fast got into this that okay, the eye thing and the vomiting of the worms have to be some kind of mashup between some a lot of physical elements, but shot at different times. So which was definitely a right idea. So basically, it's like a fake head for the eye surgery scene, like a fake head that's used for the lower part, and then Lea's face for the upper part, and the same with the puking of the worm. So yeah, no CGI, but a lot of compositing work afterwards. So and yeah, but I think it was great fun to do it because it was also so demanding because the shot was like that close. So a little frightening, and then on top of it all, it's okay. It looks fake just as it looks good. Okay. So, but when I watched the film, when I saw the first edit, and that was actually the first time I actually was convinced that it was the right way to go, because I was really, really scary about if everybody might misunderstand it to be like me doing some strange way of reality. So, but I mean, she was right. So, hats off.
I was really asking you to have two thoughts in your head at the same time, right? Because with the makeup effects on Elvira, I was like, no one has to understand, no one has to see it, you have to totally believe it. And then on the other hand, I was like, oh, but this really gory body horror, let's kind of almost break the suspension of, or like make people have the suspension of disbelief in that moment, so you kind of know that you can. There's that's what I love about like the 70s, Argento and the 90s Cronenberg, is that you see that this is just as much an art piece, or like a thing, like a costume or a prop. It belongs to the film universe. It's not something that's trying to tell you this is real, because that would be too much. And what I love about body horror is that it actually kind of invites you to look. It says, it's going to be gross, but it's not real. But I'm gonna like invite you to join the fantasy somehow. And it's that kind of uncanny relationship with it that makes you able to actually watch it. And I think Thomas delivered amazingly on both, the none should know and the other one, like, let people know, don't be afraid of it, this is camp. Yeah.
It was kind of like Elvira was a real actress in a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
And Thomas, you worked on Alien Romulus, and I love the shot with the gurgling stomach. So was that something you brought from that when you kind of see the tapeworm? That's what I was thinking. You're expecting it to push out of her stomach.
Yeah. Not really, actually. I was on Romulus so short for the wonderful guys at Legacy. So it was no, there was no intention in that. But it's a nice little shot with the stomach and my hand underneath, which
true.
okay. in the movie a lot
I
of times.
forgot. That's a shot you've been on that we haven't talked about in any of the interviews. Like, we keep coming. Like, when I came to Thomas the first time, I had this big list of like shopping list. I want you to this and this and this and this.
Yeah, we actually, I have to add that. I don't know if it's a lot or not, but we did like 47 single elements for the film, which is quite a lot for like a Scandinavian film. So it really was a lot of stuff constantly, like yeah. So
we use Thomas for everything.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, to wrap up, can each of you mention, were there any inspirations or body horror? I know, Emilia, you just mentioned a couple, but were there any inspirations that inspired your work or career or anything on this film? Anna Cathrine, you go first.
Yeah, but my work on the film is not so body horror-esque. It was like more that I was mostly inspired by period movie, but making it like a period movie made in another time. Like you would do 1880s and the 70s, like doing the big makeups. And there will always be fashion in films. You'll always be able to see when is this movie made. And it was quite funny to try to make something made in another time, but at the same time trying to introduce a new fashion. But making it very filmish. And there has been a trend for a very long time that it should be very natural and very gritty and very realistic. And I think when Thomas talks about the effects, that's so much what we're going for now in the fashion of film now is like super over realistic. So it is. So it was really funny doing this dull like things on them, but not like Disney doll, not simple dolls, like a little bit elaborate dolls, like a bit like you would have a doll. Yeah, a lot of periods mixed together. Yeah. So that was super inspirational. And I don't know if I can say, we tried to kind of, I mean, I stole with arms and legs from all kinds of periods, but in a way it was its own. So a lot of 1880s and a lot of 70s, and Cher was our big makeup guru.
Love
70,
that.
yeah, 69, 72-ish between period.
Thomas, anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I tend not to use references that much because I try to stay away from movie references as much as possible, just to kind of separate my work from others' work. But I must say that I had like an ongoing thing with thinking about the vibe in the film, The Company of Wolves. There was a certain atmosphere in that kept crawling back to me in regards to how the effects were going to look. And then, of course, the Argento films as well. So there was definitely something. And then I've always had a thing for this bright red blood that looks fake, but in a really graphical kind of nasty way that's kind of interesting. So those things were in the back of my head, definitely. Yeah.
Almost kind of Asian horror is also very, very strong. Yeah.
And Emilia.
Yeah. So, where did I have references from? I was really trying to like cook this this universe and this tone together. It's humor, it's horror, it's romance. It's camp, but it's realistic. I really didn't want it to have this like glossy, plasticky Disney vibe. I wanted to go the gritty way, and that's where I found the 70s as an inspiration, especially like Eastern European. It was the three wishes for Cinderella that sent me there, where everything looks so, the actors and the nature and the buildings, they look real, they exist, but then the costumes and the makeup and the effects are like theatrical, and that kind of makes it into this uncanny almost enchanted feeling. And I was just so fortunate, to work with amazing people who really latched on to that and could bring me Cher and Company of Wolves and stuff that I didn't necessarily know about. And I think that was really the main key, which also kind of made it timeless. So it didn't feel like a 2025 movie about Cinderella. Actually, now that we have the 35 millimeter print, I have this joke, I found this movie in the attic. No one's seen it before. It's really the real story behind Cinderella, and even predating Disney a little bit, maybe Disney even got the ideas from here.
Yeah, from us.
And twist the story.
That was actually and cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think is so special. You really have created your own unique story, even though you brought in from other worlds. It's very much your own. So again, congratulations. Thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoy the ride. And again, congratulations on the Oscar nomination and good luck in the future. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.